my name is Stacy Sims, and I'm the founder of both the True Body Project and City Silence. I wanted to share with you a few things today to get you started on your path to wellness with a meditation and or mindfulness practice. I first want to talk a little bit about my use of the words mindfulness and meditation. So meditation has been practiced for thousands of years, and mindfulness is a word that is a word used more frequently to describe a lot of different kinds of practices that include meditation, but also broaden it to be things like a practice of yoga or a practice of a nature walk. Mindfulness really means being in the present moment. I'm going to use those two terms pretty interchangeably, so just so you know where I'm coming from. So, City Silence is intended to be a resource for everyone to be able to begin to sustain a practice of quieting the mind, stilling the body enough for our nervous system to reboot and reset so we can be our best possible version of ourselves. In our contemporary society, what happens is that we end up getting so busy with our daily lives and so connected to, sometimes it might be social media or a digital environment, that we forget to take time really to stop, breathe, and allow the parasympathetic part of the nervous system to activate as much as the sympathetic part of the sympathetic nervous system activates. So if you think about the nervous system, you have the sympathetic nervous system, which is basically our get up and go, our inhale, our excitement about the future. And then our parasympathetic nervous system has to do with our exhale, our ability to rest, digest, and integrate. So most of us do really well on the SNS side of things, this upswing. But most of us don't do as well as allowing the parasympathetic nervous system to help rebalance the whole nervous system and help better connect the mind to the body. So a couple of things that indicate that your nervous system is out of whack is probably, first of all, the idea that you don't have time to meditate or be still. But it also can result in a sense of unwellness that might be inability to sleep, mood disorders, anxiety disorders. It's starting the research in the literature about this many thousand-year-old practice is now being analyzed through our contemporary lens of brain imaging and neuroscience. And what we're starting to understand is that when the nervous system is out of whack, our physical well-being is at risk, as is our mental and our emotional well-being. So simply put, the more we do and the more we attempt to take on in our world, especially if it comes from the digital world, we really need to take more and more time to press pause so that we can reset our nervous system. So City Silence allows you to join with others in community. It allows you to host community events in your own world. It also gives you tools through these kinds of videos, interviews with other people who've been practicing meditation for much longer than I have, as well as MP3 files to listen to. So this is just a little bit of a primer to get you started on your own way. So I'd like to talk a little bit now about how I started into meditation and what kind of practice I have now. And then I'm going to move into a few tips for you. So I started meditating 4 years ago, and I started as part of a study of Reiki, and my teacher, Sundar, invited us for the first 3 months. Our only homework was to meditate for at least 3 to 5 minutes a day. So one of the meditations I'm going to share with you in one of the other videos is the meditation he taught us. I did that for all of those 3 or 4 years, and I felt pretty awesome. But this last year, so that would have been February of 2015, I was invited in a couple of awesome locations, Taipei, Cambodia, and Hawaii. I was traveling to do some work, and I ended up lengthening my meditation practice, first by hour-long meditations, and then those branched into longer periods of sitting. And it was almost as though I went from being sort of a hobbyist jogger to someone who was training to run a marathon. And the longer I sat, the more capacity I had for longer sitting, just like anything else you would study. But the fundamentals remained the same. But the more I meditated, the better I felt all the time. So now my best day is between a half an hour and an hour, because the rest of the day I'm going to spend bombarding my senses. And so I really need a good base of silence. But the literature suggests that even a few minutes a day can make profound changes in your physical health, your emotional health, your mental health, and your spiritual health. And it can certainly make you feel more connected to others. So now we're going to move on to a few tips. I now practice, and in some of the other videos you will see that I practice now with my legs crossed, sitting closer to the floor. But that is not necessary for you to get started, especially if you are very uncomfortable sitting with your legs crossed, or just if getting up and down is hard for you, or if it just seems like, oh, if I have to get down on the floor, I'm probably not going to do it. So here's the easiest way to get started, is you're going to put your feet flat on the floor. So a lot of us want to cross our legs, or, if we're working in our desks, we're maybe like this. But you're sending a signal to the mind and the body. When you concentrate on your feet, you're basically grounding yourself. And if you work on getting your alignment, so your feet are under your knees and your knees are kind of in line with the hips, or maybe the hips are a little higher than the knees, but about a 90-degree angle. And then you're going to work on lengthening your spine, because you have taken a second to figure out and bring your mind's attention to your base. So I'm going to shift around for a second so you can see the alignment here. So I planted my feet on the floor, 90-degree angle, and I've tried to elevate my spine so that if you basically dropped a straight line down from the back of my head, you would hit here, you would also hit here on the thoracic spine, and then you would line up with the base, the sacrum of the spine. So hopefully you can see that this is a nice long line, and that these curves of the cervical spine and the lumbar spine are sort of equal, and these 3 points create one long line in space. So this alignment, I'm going to scooch back around. So when our body is in that alignment, it is the least amount of work for the body to do the work of the body, which means that respiration, all the inner workings of the organs, all of the information that travels from the brain to the body, and then from the body back to the brain, it's like they're not encumbered. There's no kinks in the hose, so to speak. So when the body is in good alignment, we basically feel better. And when we feel better in our physical body, we have more ease in our day-to-day life. So a lot of what meditation is doing is actually allowing your muscular skeletal body to reorganize for better wellness. Conceptually too, we want to be able to ground ourselves by feeling our feet. We want to have a sense of the center of our bodies, and I'll go into more in another video. And we also want to have a sense of the length of our spine. And we might even want to take a second just to look around, orient through the spine, and orient to where you are in time and space. If you're anything like me, I can get so busy in my thoughts that sometimes I might walk from room to room and forget why I went to the other room because I'm just so in my head. What that means is that we're not in the present. So the minute I find my feet, find my center, and I move my spine, it's a signal to the nervous system that says, okay, we're here. We're right here, right now. So feet on the ground, find the center, find the spine. When it comes to the hands, there's lots of different studies. If you're a yogi, you might know different mudras. Each of them are very specific. And it's a really neat thing to study if you deepen your study. One of the other videos we have is with Brad Warner, and he does Zazen, and he taught us that basically you put one hand here, and pull your thumbs into the middle. Sometimes I like to sit like this. But for me, one of my basic postures is simply to turn my palms up. For me, what that signals is a bit of a surrender, an openness, and it also opens up the chest and helps pull the muscles of the back together. So why is that important? If we spend all day in this posture, we really need to strengthen our back body and open our front body in order to have nice alignment. Also, if you think of how emotion habituates in the body, so this posture, this folded forward posture, is the posture of what? Sadness, fear. If you would just hold your body like this for a while and you sat with it for a minute, you're gonna probably not feel very good because it's crunching up your organs, it's crunching up your diaphragm, and the subjective feeling of this is sadness or unease or maybe fear. So we want to work to open up through the chest. So eyes. I like to close my eyes, so just closing eyes. But for some people, that's not very comfortable. And actually, Brad, in the video, also that you can watch on City Silence, in the Zen practice, they keep the eyes open and they just look at a blank wall or a spot on the floor. So setting a soft gaze somewhere forward. So there's many, many ways to do it. But for me, I like to make sure I have my feet on the floor, find my ground, find my spine, and I generally like to close my eyes. In the next several videos, I'm going to give you 3 to 4 different versions of meditations that you can also do. So honestly, by just closing your eyes and staying here for a while, you're starting to do your nervous system and your whole mind, body, self, and the rest of the world a huge favor. But the longer that you're able to do it, just the easier it is to keep returning to it. So just like with a runner, you probably aren't going to start at marathon length. You're going to start small, but once you've gone for a longer distance, the shorter distances become much easier. So one of the things that I do use my phone for is there's a bunch of free apps. This one is called Chakra Chime. And if I just lost that. You can set it for any amount of time that you want, and then it will chime when you're done. And it's very satisfying to know that you've intended to sat 3 minutes, you sat 3 minutes. And in fact, oh my gosh, it went so fast. So then next time you might want to do 5 minutes. So I'm just thinking through anything else I want to tell you. Get set up, get comfortable. When we sit, I'm going to show you that you want to elevate your bottom a little higher than your feet. Just it creates a little more comfort and ease. Hands, pick something that is comfortable for you and maybe stick with it for a while, because then the minute you just assume your posture, the muscle memory in the body is going, now is when we get to relax. So repetition is really nice, makes things go more smoothly. Also, just a reminder that on the City Silence website, we have all kinds of tools. So we have written instructions for videos, we have MP3 files, and we also have these videos. And we also have a shopping cart where you can buy extra tools. And I'm going to go into these in other videos, but this is a really cool coin kit that helps you remember certain concepts like grounding and centering and orienting, breathing, connecting, and nourishing. So welcome to the practice of meditation and mindfulness. I look very forward to supporting you, and just remember, you really can't get it wrong. The only way to get it wrong is by not doing it. So we're going to make it as easy as we can to get you into a daily practice of just finding your breath and learning how to manage your own nervous system, because you can have so much control over your joy, over your wellness, and over the course of how you craft your own beautiful life. Thank you.